Good afternoon and namaste. This is Dr. Uma Kedvetal, Faculty of Agricultural and Veterinary Sciences, Jayoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, Jaipur. And as you know, I am taking the course on metabolism and bioenergetics this semester. So in the previous session, we had looked into glycolysis and Krebs cycle. So in this session, we will be looking into an alternative pathway for the fate of glucose. Like in the session for glycolysis, I had told that there are alternative fates for glucose, like it could be used in the anabolic pathways, like the as the building block for glycogen or starch, depending on the type of cell, or it could go into the pentose phosphate pathway, and then that could become the source for many other carbohydrates that are required for multiple anabolic pathways in the cell. And otherwise, so like in this session, we will be looking at the hexose monophosphate shunt, the HMP shunt, or this is also known as the pentose phosphate pathway. So this is a unique pathway used to create products essential in the body for many reasons, and this is an alternative pathway to glycolysis, as I was saying, and this produces ribose 5-phosphate, and then another major feature of the pentose phosphate pathway is that, like in, if you remember, in glycolysis and in Krebs cycle, what is produced are NADH. Now there is also that is the nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide is produced. Now there is another coenzyme, the nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate. So the NADH and the NADPH, they are the two energy rich. So they are both there, and it is just varying in one phosphate, and that phosphate is not exactly required in the energy conversion process. NADH also gives 3 ATP molecules. NADPH also gives 3 ATP molecules. But the thing is, NADPH is required to interact with an entirely different set of enzymes. Like NADH can interact with a certain set of enzymes, and NADPH can interact with certain other sets of enzymes. And these are both molecules which are very important in terms of the redox regulation of the cells, the pH maintenance, and the reduction potential or the oxidation potential of the cell is dependent on this NADH NAD plus levels ratio, as well as the NADPH NADP plus ratio. So like as I was saying, let's come back to the pentose phosphate pathway. So this is a pathway that goes parallel to glycolysis, and it also takes place in the cytoplasm. So like this entry to glycolysis or the HMP shunt, the pentose phosphate pathway, that is actually depending on the cell's need at the time. So the first step is common for both, that glucose is converted to glucose 6-phosphate. But after that, the reaction that takes place is like if it is it is oxidized, and there are like two phases of the HMP shunt, the oxidative or the irreversible phase, and the non-oxidative phase, that is the reversible phase. So in the oxidative phase, that is responsible for converting the glucose 6-phosphate to 6-phosphogluconate. So that is the committing step for pentose phosphate pathway. Now the formation of fructose 6-phosphate and the fructose 1,6 bisphosphate is the committing step for glycolysis. So Now this 6-phosphogluconate is produced, like if you remember in glycolysis, actually after conversion of after the formation of glucose 6-phosphate, then that is converted by the that is converted by the phosphoglucoisomerase to form the fructose 6-phosphate. The glucose 6-phosphate is converted by the phosphoglucoisomerase into fructose 6-phosphate. Now over here, this is converted by phosphogluconase. So that is what is the important difference between not phosphogluconase, glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, and it is converted into 6-phosphogluconate. So that is the important difference in the enzyme that is involved. So in glycolysis, it is converted by the phosphoglucoisomerase, and if it is destined, that glucose 6-phosphate is destined to go into pentose phosphate pathway, then glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase will convert it to 6-phosphogluconate. So once that enters the becomes the 6-phosphogluconate, then it also involves the production of NADPH, and then 6-phosphogluconate is then converted into ribulose 5-phosphate, and NADPH is again produced as a byproduct. So this is the, until the production of the ribulose 5-phosphate is what is the oxidative stage of the HMP shunt pathway, and that is actually irreversible. So if I were to show you the pathway, this is the HMP shunt pathway, and that is this is the oxidative part of it, that is irreversible. So the glucose 6-phosphate will be converted by the glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, and here NADP plus will be converted to NADPH plus H plus, and then this will be converted into 6-phosphogluconate, and this is the committed step. So from there, ribulose 5-phosphate is produced, and one CO2 is released, and this will also lead to the production of one molecule of NADPH. Now from here, it's like if you want to, you could just add these. There is the enzymes epimerase and isomerase. So it will either produce xylulose 5-phosphate or ribose 5-phosphate. So let's say 1 mole of ribulose 5-phosphate will give half a mole of xylulose 5-phosphate and half a mole of ribose 5-phosphate. Then transketolase enzyme will, in the presence of thymine pyrophosphate, so that will actually convert it into, like, this is 5 carbon, this is 5 carbon. So we have a total of 10 carbon. Now this 10 carbon will be converted into 1 7 carbon and 1 3 carbon. And then once this is happening, then again this is a ketone reaction. And now the transaldolase will convert the 7 plus 3 10 carbon into 1 4 carbon and 1 6 carbon. And now this fructose 6-phosphate can actually enter into glycolysis as well, if it is deemed necessary. So these are the main isomerization reactions, and these are all important in terms of, like, ribose 5-phosphate is required for DNA synthesis, and erythrosis again another important cellular biosynthesis molecule. So this also regulates the generation of NADPH in the tissue. So the rate limiting enzyme is the committing step, that is glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, and it is allosterically inhibited by the presence of NADPH and activated in the presence of NADP plus. So like like I had told, the ribose 5-phosphate can be returned to the glycolytic pathway as the fructose 6-phosphate, or else it can be used for the anabolic processes. So the mechanism as such is the like for this is produced when the cell requires the ribose 5-phosphate for the DNA synthesis, or the erythrose 4-phosphate for the aromatic amino acid synthesis, or NADPH, which is important for the free radical conversion, like when hydrogen peroxide is converted by the presence of catalase, then for that also it is needed. Then for glutathione reductase, and for the conversion of oxidized glutathione into reduced form, then also NADPH. This NADPH acts as a very critical cofactor in the cells, and because of that, this HMP shunt is a highly relevant pathway in the cell. So yeah, I'll show you the pathway as such once more, because this is also like highly relevant in terms of so in here, if we were to look at the different pathways, yeah, so if we were to look at the different pathways involved, so until the production of the ribulose 5-phosphate we had already covered. So the glucose 6-phosphate will be converted by glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, that is the rate limiting enzyme in this step, and it will form 6-phosphogluconolactone, that will be converted by the gluconolactone hydrolase to form the 6-phosphogluconate. And this is the committed step for the HMP shunt pathway. And once from there, one NADPH is produced in the presence of phosphogluconate dehydrogenase to form ribulose 5-phosphate. And once this ribulose 5-phosphate is there, then it will produce equal shares of xylulose 5-phosphate and ribose 5-phosphate. So ribose 5-phosphate can be used for the anabolic pathways, like the DNA synthesis and nucleic acid, the nucleotide synthesis. And then otherwise some part of it will be converted into the pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Now this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate can also go into glycolysis back, or else these two will combine and form erythrose 4-phosphate, that is very essential for aromatic amino acid synthesis, or else it can combine with fructose 6, or it can give fructose 6-phosphate, that can also go back into glycolysis. So it depends on the cell's energy requirements. Or otherwise the xylulose 5-phosphate over here can combine with glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate in order to give fructose 6-phosphate, or else the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate can actually go into gluconeogenesis to form fructose 6-phosphate, glucose 6-phosphate, and then fructose 6-phosphate, and then back to glucose. So that will be for the gluconeogenesis pathway, that all we will be dealing with later in the session. So that will be all for the session. Thank you. Have a good day.